And I'm just going to talk a few minutes about the role of advertising for professional services firms. And it's, I think, probably not a fraught and unhappy subject, I would say, because professional services firms, even when the rules are relatively liberal now, are extraordinarily resistant to using, if you like, the power of advertising and their brand. And over the years in my various agency roles, I've worked with a couple of big consulting firms on their brand strategy. I worked with a big law firm on the brand strategy, and I worked with a sort of very well-known mid-tier accounting firm that's renowned for its reach across the UK. All of them really struggled to do anything, actually. And I don't know whether it was the partnership structure, the inability to convince the partners that this was a good investment for their money, or one of the things that characterized all of these brands, these were all very, very well-known brands in their respective marketplaces, was they found it extraordinarily difficult to distill what they were good at, and what they stood for. And the really interesting thing, I thought, I was looking at the survey that Richard talked about, is that track record and brand and reputation were the two key drivers of international business. So there's a strange paradox here, is that track record and reputation are exactly the things that we were trying to focus on in the advertising. So there was not in a single case did it result in any consistent communications. So why is that? And I think why is there a huge opportunity for your sectors to take advantage of advertising? The UK in particular is an extraordinarily sophisticated and diverse advertising marketplace. By many measures, the most sophisticated in the world. We have by far the highest digital marketing penetration. As an example, Barry's business is a great example of that. The rest of the world comes to the UK, rather like it does for audit and law and advice. The rest of the world comes to the UK for advertising advice because we are seen as generally the best in the world at it, particularly in a European context. There's two cities that really matter globally for advertising in the world, and that's New York and London. And London serves the world. New York largely serves the US. So London is absolutely the epicenter of the global advertising business. So we've got the extraordinary expertise here, and the B2B sector, which most of your firms would be B2B advertisers, although I would argue that there's a very good case for big firms to actually build a B2C brand, i.e. business to consumer brand, because your reputation ultimately is enhanced with your B2B clients by seeing you in B2C markets and B2C media. Many, many years ago, in fact, during the Second World War, the Advertising Association was encouraged by the government to encourage brands to keep advertising, even though their products may not be available or rationed, because it was a reminder that we're going to win and good times are coming back and brands are a part of normal everyday life. But also it's a reminder of quality. Keep reminding people about the quality of what you do. And of course, when you think about what is a brand is a promise of quality. A brand is a set of values. When you say, a well-known, let's say, accounting firm's name, a prospective customer has a set of values in their mind. Now, do you work yourselves as a firm, obviously, in your interactions with that customer, and all the people that they influence to build that reputation? Of course you do. Every day is a way. Every day and every action is a way of building that brand. But advertising is a way of building that at scale, at speed, and in a way that you completely control. If you rely on PR or word of mouth, which often when talking to those firms, they'd say, well, we rely on PR. Well, PR in effect is asking somebody else to tell your message for you. Not to say that's not a useful tactic, it certainly is, and there's often a lot of authority from the third-party endorsement. So it's a very useful strategy. But why would you not also directly influence what you want people to think about you by advertising? There's a plethora of good media. each one of the sectors that your firms operate in will have very, very good trade media. There's a plethora of digital channels. And Barry's business is built on people who are building relationships with customers directly. The two biggest advertisers in the world are still big packaged goods firms, so Unilever and Procter & Gamble. Both of them, in their different ways, say the future is mass one-to-one. So it's using the technology to build brands at scale on a highly personalized basis. Now, they're reaching literally billions of consumers around the world, and if they can do it around things like soap powders and toothpastes and shampoos and all these other very everyday products, with highly sophisticated, very, very expensive, and very, very important products like the products that your firm sell, surely you should be able to do it. And so I would say, a challenge from the ad industry is, use it, because it's an enormous asset. Pretty much every other sector uses it, and particularly in the UK, we are a very consumer-driven sector, so the advertising market is very, very important. But in a sense, advertising only exists to help firms compete and innovate and win business. Firms in sophisticated markets and highly developed markets actually have to advertise, otherwise they lose share against more aggressive competitors. But advertising drives down prices, increases competition, and it drives innovation. And clearly, the firms that advertise more heavily, there's a great rule of thumb that if your market share is 10%, and your share of voice, i.e. your share of advertising, is 12%, you will grow. All things being equal, you will grow. If your market share is 10% and your share of voice is 8%, you will shrink. Been shown time and time again over decades, across markets, across countries. Now, the interesting thing about professional services firms is because it would take very little investment to have quite a high share of voice. You might have 10% market share, and even just by spending money in a consistent way and building your brand and doing the things that you might do, you could get a very high share of voice. And while your competitors are not doing it, the opportunities to take more business from them. Now, apologies if that sounds like it's a sort of slightly, teaching grandma to suck eggs or whatever. Some of your firms may be very highly sophisticated marketers, and you may be saying, well, we're already doing all those things. So if you are, good on you, and I hope your business is getting the results. If you're not, I would recommend just looking at it in some detail. But the way to do that is hire a professional marketing person. Bring a professional marketing person into your business and get them to look at how you go to market, look at all your customer touch points, look at how they can improve, look at the consistency of what you say, look at all of those things that make up a successful brand. It's fair to say there's not a happy record of experienced marketing people moving into professional services firms, because the culture does seem to reject them. But there are some notable successes. And I won't name names because it might embarrass them, and maybe some people might be on the call for all I know. But there are successes in doing this. And the partnerships that really do go for it, I think, do reap the rewards.